You see, some people think that bourgeois relations do away with all other relations except money. We think Marx also thought so. I'm not very sure that Marx exactly thought along that line. But clearly it is true that gender, race, caste, as well as many other fault lines that are, and which are basic fault lines of society, that they are done away when the class logic operates. In fact, the class logic operates more on the fault lines. So, it's like asking, can capitalism do away with race in the United States? Maybe one particular form of racism will go away, but another form of racism will come. So one form of caste, discrepancy, untouchability might go away. But it may not mean that caste will go away. So the caste, the imagery that the word caste invokes may not be the same. We may think of you, so Vivekananda thought everyone will become Shudra. So caste will go away. So what are we therefore suggesting? Are we suggesting that the world of the radical inequality and the radical exploitative kind of thing will remain, but caste will go away? Or are we suggesting that no, the caste will go away along with all that was associated with it? So we have to be very clear what we ask when we say that will there be an annihilation. Yes, that there will be an annihilation of caste, with the annihilation of the entire caste order. I do not see that how without that. But the caste order cannot go away in the way in which market and everything operates, because they do not operate against the caste order. They actually operate
along
on the
with
basis
it.
of those lines.
No, my question was like when you're mobilizing, for instance, what they say is that I am a particular caste, a lower caste, a Dalit caste. So what is the problem with that? Or should there be an annihilation of caste in the lines where you don't use your caste identity?
Again, you see, I do not think that the various movements in India operate along the same line. Because again in West Bengal, if you see, there may be occasions when some of the activists or the leaders may think along the line that you were suggesting. They may say we remain of the lower classes and we join the movement. And in the kind of possibility of a Bahujan Samaj, which I was mentioning, probably this will be the case, where the politics does not demand that the Mahato becomes a Murmu, or a Murmu becomes let us say an Orao, or an Orao becomes a Lodha. The politics doesn't demand that. It may happen for a long, long time that while economic reforms will take place, modern education and all that will come, but it may happen that many other these fictive blood ties on which clan relations are built will remain. And it will take a long, long time before blood, with all its fictive associations, will become irrelevant in politics. There was a time when we thought that blood was irrelevant to politics. All kinds of racism, casteism, finally depends on this thing of blood. And all that we think blood possesses, therefore, in terms of continuity, in terms of forming family, etc., etc. And blood keeps on producing all kinds of fictive ties. So it may happen that institutions of private property will change. There might be a metamorphosis from one form to another. That the most exploitative of the forms of private property may go away. But at the same time, the social organization may remain still along the lines of what Dalit had called categorical inequality. In other words, inequality among categories. And that may produce, therefore, new kinds of tensions. So, while we say that the final struggle will not be between man and man or between human beings, but between human beings and nature, etc., struggle or the final engagement, we may also say that at the same time one more final engagement will be not between the economy and the society, but even when the economy has been taken care of, but along other lines which have remained with human civilization for thousands of years. That may be the final word.
No, okay, this is something else, which is that would you talk a bit about all these figures that you mentioned who are no longer available in party historiography or even mainstream Dalit movements historiography? So, like, speak a bit about them.
See, Shomaresh Boshu's, the chronicle of Jungle Shautan, or, of Birsa Munda by Mahashweta Devi. But these are few and far between. But I do think that, I tried to do something, I do not know whether you read it in the EPW long back, but if you get hold of a book of mine which was published early this year called Passive Revolution Investment Work, then there is one small entry which is called Chronicles of the Ranks. How do you write a chronicle of the rank? And in that small entry, it was in memoriam, written in memoriam to a very fast friend of mine who was a trade union organizer and not a celebrity. How do you write the biography of such a person who, precisely because of their anonymity, precisely because of the fact that they belong to the rank and file, do not have their biographical histories? I mean, a researcher might particularly engage himself or herself with finding out the biography of X or Y. And if for some reason, like Jungle Shautan, he or she becomes very famous, like Mahatma. But otherwise, precisely because he or she is Jungle Shautan, he will not have any history, because nobody will. But how do you write then the chronicles of the ranks? This was a question that I had put there. Some people understood it, some people took it as an obituary of a particular person, etc. You can read that. That's there. I think therefore it's a significant question. That if you read, let us say, Sundaraya's book on Telangana struggle, again, there are accounts, but heavily political. Not political is not the right word, but in many ways very official in terms of what was the strategy, etc., etc. And in the making of those strategies, also how the rank and file played its role. I think you need, therefore, maybe, and I'm on an uncertain ground, therefore, maybe if you write a history of the movement, in the sense we speak of massive popular movement, maybe we will not ever get the history of the ranks, these few. But if we write history of particular segments, and this is therefore I was arguing that in the best way to capture the history of the left front is not to write it from the top, but to take it, pick up few fragments, what happened in certain villages, what did someone did, what did someone, or what did not, what didn't take place, etc., etc. We will find these kinds of figures who may not be exceptional, but who, in the light of, therefore, by hindsight or you can see that they played crucial role, like Hajra Shapur or General Shapur, or take Chhatrodharma. Now this person, by his own admission, he says again and again, I am not a Maoist. But at the same time, it is true that he became a leader of a very important mass organization, open organization at an important point of time. And now he is in jail for
2 years almost, I
2 years,
think.
3 years, if I am not wrong. Mamata came in 2011.
11.
So it should be certainly 3 years, maybe more, 4 years. Or Babulal Bishop. And maybe we should have a moratorium therefore on writing history of the leaders. You want to write a party history, it will qualify as party history only if you write the history of it. For 20 years we should stop writing the history of the leaders. We had enough history of the leaders. If one party can do it, then the party will do it. You know, I will tell you, Samaddar, I had told 2 people, write a history of Shahban, the biography of Shahban. We will do much more than what we have done in terms of writing contemporary history of India. Now, who is this woman Shahban? Who knew her name? No one. What did she do? She was one of the, let us say, one of the most ordinary of the millions of ordinary women in India. What did she do? She did only one act, which was that she demanded that the husband should give her money. Now, the case was taken up. Now look, what did this woman do? She stood against the husband, stood against the wife, stood against the clergy, stood against many things and said, no, I need. Then there was a Supreme Court, and in Supreme Court, when the clerical people's clerics say that no, it's the religion's duty to provide protection to these women. They are not abandoned. There is an ummah, there is a community which will look after them. And therefore, to say that government or state will intervene and order that this and this goes against the principle of the ummah. It is ummah's responsibility. And this woman said, he went against her earlier argument and said, no, I may have asked the Indian state to help me, but I cannot go against Islam. And she became hostile. But she was the crucial person, but she became hostile. And it went on and on. Now, if you actually chronicle the life of Shahban, you will know much more than what we come to know when we write of the legal history of reforms, etc. What Syed Ahmed did from the 1850s, 60s. So there should be moratorium.
So, for the Telangana people struggle history, there are also 2 other documents, right? There's one, we were making history, that's the Sri Shakti Sangatana, it's about the women in the Telangana movement, and then there's another one called We Were Also Making History, that's about the Dalit women writing. So maybe West Bengal needs...
No, I think these are very good developments.
Yeah.
These are very good developments. My only point is that, you see, and I think this was a fantastic response when we too made history, or what was the title? I think this was a very good thing. But it needs a movement to recognize. I do not know how we escape the trap. I can see clearly there is a closure in this approach, because it then formalizes certain ways of doing research, certain ways of knowing. In other words, you will always have a history, and then you will have a feminist participation or a feminist version.
And then there's a Dalit women's version. Yeah.
But which is, as I said, in the absence of that, it is much better that we have it, and I think we should welcome it. We are all, we have all gained by it. I think our consciousness has improved it. They were great critiques. But I'm not very sure, as I said, maybe that's the way. As I said, I'm on an uncertain ground here. But clearly, how do we write the chronicle of the lands? This is important. Hajra Shapui was not a leader. And
So why do you know about them? How do you know about them?
because there are two others. Because I participated in the movements, therefore there is an empathy or a sympathy. Empathy is the right word. There is a feeling of there is a bond which one feels, which is, I think, which is at the heart of the whatever we call the sense of friendship that is there. I think that is important. Maybe that's the main reason. But also I think the other reason is that constantly, as a political thinker, you have to constantly face this question of caste and class. And when you were asked, why is it that there is no Dalit movement in West Bengal? Why is it that upper castes are this and that? And then I have to always say, how much do you know of Dalit activism in West Bengal? And why do you blame the Dalits if they have not earmarked their identity as Dalits? You do it, others can do it. But don't blame Hajra Shapui because he didn't say he was Dalit. That can't be his fault. So if Dalits have participated in the movement, take it as they have done it. If you wish it, you try. If you try, if you succeed, only people will give salute to you and will help you. But if you find that Dalits are responding to the calls of the time in a particular manner, the best is that we learn it and not say, oh, they are still hypnotized by the upper caste. This is in fact a very elitist way of looking at things.
I think this is the perfect